It's now time for us to look at what the papers are reporting this morning. First, let's have a peek through the Nation newspaper with the banner headline, El-Rufai faces 10-count fraud charge today in Kaduna. His arraignment is within the court-ordered detention period, says ICPC. Nigeria News Direct, Atiku demands release of El-Rufai, kicks against detaining political opponents. And Daily Trust newspaper, EFCC seals Malami's houses. ICPC arraigns El-Rufai today. This Nigeria, 868 million naira fraud. How ex-accountant general got 72-year jail term. Judge, he diverted defense funds into personal investments, laundered public money through proxy accounts. Next is the Leadership newspaper. Niger, terrorists fleeing ongoing military operations behind bridge bombing. 8 killed after vehicle hits IED planted by bandits on bridge linking Niger state communities. Next is the Hope newspaper. Multiple explosions rock Niger. Kwara. 8 killed in Niger, many feared dead in Kwara. And the Platform Times looks at the challenges the world is facing as it affects Nigeria. Nigeria faces job losses, business closures as oil prices surge. NECA, NLC, LCCI, one of worsening economic hardship. Petrol hits record highs as global crisis fuels inflation. The Punch newspaper, Hamzat Yayi Ali may emerge APC consensus governor candidates. House stakeholders Salah meeting with Tinubu knocked out Adelabu for 2027 Oyo governor race. And the Guardian newspaper, World Tuberculosis Day. TB gains at risk as funding gap, stigma, malnutrition persist. And the Observer Times, CBN named Global Central Bank of the Year, honored for reforming the economy and stabilizing the Naira. And last but not least is the Sport and Live. Atletico Madrid coach Lukman has a big heart, says Nigerian star is working very well. I'll be doing this with my colleagues, Ria, Veronica, and our in-house analyst, Biodun Shomi. Ria, let me start off with you, looking at the Nation newspaper, which agrees with the Nigerian News Direct. The Nation newspaper is saying El-Rufai faces 10-count fraud charge today in Kaduna, and his arraignment is within the court-ordered detention period, says ICPC. Remember, we talked about the issue of the wiretapping, which is facing, and that of the 432 billion naira funds, allegedly diverted public funds during his tenure between 2015 and 2023. How have you been reading, following this development?
Ibrahim, this morning I was having a conversation with someone, and not just El-Rufai, we have Malami as well. The EFCC is saying that, they're set to seal, some of his properties. And what I can just say from this whole thing is that Nigerians are following the story. And the way we treat the story will determine how we hold our leaders accountable, even after they've left office. Because while you're in public office, you need to understand that even if you leave, you can be scrutinized if they feel like, there was an error during your time. It's so sad that we're having these conversations, but of course we cannot just nail him because there has to be evidence, he has to be, properly found guilty. But I'm just hoping that we follow this case detail to detail to get to the end of it. El-Rufai sat on TV and made a lot of bold statements, especially talking about the wiretapping, which was outrageous. Even the presenter had to ask him, do you know what you're saying is criminal? This is a man that was feeling, untouchable when he made those kind of statements. So I'm happy that we're following through with it. But at the end of the day, I don't want it to be a story that we trail it, after some time it just goes down the drain, nobody talks about it again. We need accountability from our leaders. And this will set the precedence for other leaders that while you're in office, you need to do a good job because you need to leave a legacy. If at the end of the day he's found guilty of all of this, what is the legacy you're leaving behind? You cannot be in public office for the rest of your life. So while you're there, you need to understand that one day you will go. And when you go, there will be judgment. It's just like when you leave the world. You will definitely face judgment. So do you want to be judged right? Veronica, you're good? Do you want to be judged right or left?
It's the way you said one day you will go and there will be judgment.
Exactly. There will be judgment. Everything on this earth, there's consequences.
Absolutely.
So let them follow this story detail to detail. We want to see the evidences. Let them present it. If he's really found guilty, he needs to face the full weight of the law, honestly.
Yeah, so if you look at Nigerian News Direct, he's also saying, not Nigerian News Direct, Daily Trust, talking about EFCC sealing Malami's houses. ICPC arraigns El-Rufai today. So that of El-Rufai on one hand, which claimed is politically motivated. The same thing Malami is saying. But remember when Malami was there, high-handedness. He's also been tried for sponsoring terrorism, corruption, etc. In all of this, what does it say about occupying public office? There are some people that occupied public offices and they left without any problem, without any rancor. Even when people started pointing at accusing fingers to them, they were like, no, do you know who you're doing that to? Not because the person is influential, but because the person was upright.
Absolutely. If there was an issue, they say there is no smoke without a fire. That's a saying. And so if there is smoke and we are trying to investigate what caused the smoke, let's allow the full weight of the law run its course. Yeah. You shouldn't be aggressive. You shouldn't start fumbling or start thinking, oh, this is political, because we are seeing statements from Atiku saying this whole matter is political. Yeah. I can have a different ideology. Everybody cannot have the same ideology and what have you. Politicians should learn that they are accountable to the people. That's right. And the institutions of government on the land. And so if they are called to question, they should respond. You serve the people, and the time you serve the people is being called to question. Why are you having issues with that? Why do you have to politicize it if you say you do not have any cockroach in your cupboard? Just come out transparent and do the needful thing, and everyone would applaud you and applaud the government for whatever it has done. This will help us strengthen our institutions. And I'm just wondering why they are finding it so difficult. Yeah. We don't have to politicize everything. Malami did a time in office. Come and answer questions. What you did. You do not have any issues? Okay, let's our investigations find that out. Absolutely. So every person who is in office or aspiring to be in office should learn that lesson. If you serve the people and you said you did that, open-heartedly, plainly, transparently, then you shouldn't have issues.
Most definitely. So if you look at Niger News Direct, Atiku is demanding release of El-Rufai, kicking against detaining political opponents. So, the opposition or people who sympathize with El-Rufai and Malami are saying that this actually politically motivated. But it's quite interesting that both of them, Malami and El-Rufai, are also members of the APC the last time I checked. El-Rufai has also consistently denied all wrongdoings recently filed, and he recently filed a 1 billion naira fundamental rights suit challenging the legality of his detention and search of his residence.
Look, honestly speaking, I'm totally gobsmacked that somebody who occupied the position of vice president of the country could go as far as describing someone who went on national television, to say that, look, have been wiretapping, the national security advisor of the country. Yeah. What is political about that? He was reminded that
what you said is...
He was even reminded that, do you know that this is criminal? Has Atiku forgotten that? The whole country watched it. What is political about that? A man who deliberately walked himself into the jungle to face a lion. That's his own headache. How can you come on national television and say, look, I've been compromising the security of the country, and you expect any responsible government to leave him alone? No, they have to ask questions. It's been pulled in. Secondly, again, I am just shocked that Atiku will ignore the humongous amount of money which the Kaduna State House of Assembly investigated. And they came out with a report. I doubt whether Atiku has read that report. And if indeed he has, then he should not be taking the position he's taking. So, asking him to account, for public wealth. What is wrong with that? What is political about that? Because you're already in trouble. El-Rufai trouble started when he was in APC, not when he was in ADC. And then you now move to ADC and then said, oh, it's because I'm in ADC, that's why they're persecuting me. No, that's not the case. Malami's case is also very clear. He was in APC. Look, we all know Malami. The inland revenue or the tax people are there to check what is revenue, what is income, the tax he's been paying before he became the Attorney General of the Federation. That's right. And now, there are issues that needs to be cleared up. Absolutely. That does not presume them guilt But the party anyone.
The thing is that I'm not even
shouldn't
surprised
cause
because
issues.
in Nigeria we politicize everything. We leave the main issue that we should deal with and then now start playing politics around it.
We need to raise some because of our time. I'll still like to stay with you. You know, the issue of this Nigeria, 868 million naira fraud. How ex-accountant general got 72-year jail term. Judge, he diverted defense funds into personal investments, laundered public money through proxy accounts. You remember when former President Muhammad Buhari, you know, appointed him accountant general, and then the EFCC made it known that, listen, this guy was under investigation. So he spent barely a month before
1 or 2 months before he was actually replaced.
Absolutely.
I remember this very case very well. His predecessor was removed on account of fraud, and only for the replacement again to be indicted. Now he has been convicted. And for me, I think a message is being sent out that Nigeria will no longer have tolerance, tolerance for corruption. And this message needs to go out loud and clear to people occupying public offices, including civil servants.
That's right.
And I'm glad the judge has done this. Many people thought nothing will change in Nigeria, corruption will continue as usual. Now we are beginning to see the issue of corruption being addressed without government interference. For me, this is good news for us.
All right then, Leadership newspaper as well as the Hope newspaper next. Veronica will come to you with the Platform Times. Ria, Niger, terrorists fleeing ongoing military operations behind bridge bombing. 8 killed after vehicle hit IED planted by bandits on bridge linking Niger State communities. The same with the Hope newspaper saying multiple explosions rock Niger, Kwara, killing 8 people. So the casualties, have been mentioned. They even said over 30 victims were, also affected. These are guys that the Nigerian security architecture had said they've been fighting, and because they're fleeing, that's why they are, attacking here and there. But it also affects Kwara community in Kwara State. Remember then, in Kayama local government, which we lamented over the last time we talked about it.
And Ibrahim, at the end of the day, there is a big collateral damage, and that is what we're seeing. Lives are being lost, and these are not chickens. These are human beings, that are dying.
That's right.
We speak about the other day, that was yesterday, I was speaking about Kwara, the church that, they took people from the church while they were worshiping. And the fact that this is not something that happens in one state and we don't hear it again. This has been happening. Niger State, we've seen, multiple times this happens. I am speaking from a place that when do we have a Nigeria where we are totally sure that we've eradicated, these terrorists, these bandits? Because over some time, they've had this impunity, they had this audacity that even some of them come on TikTok and make videos.
That's right.
Some of them are not scared anymore. And then we have, our defense fighting these people. At the end of the day, we cannot say we are fighting them at the expense of our people dying, because we do not want people to die. What is the main reason you're in a country you want to be safe, you want to be secure? So I think this is something that we have to hold heads on. This is not something that we juggle and just speak about. I know that the president is making bold statements, but we actually now want to see this really happen. If state police will be a good one for us, let us put state police, forest guards, let's put the things in place. If it's intelligence, let's work together to make sure that we eradicate it, because this collateral damage is becoming too much.
We see that
the
president is collaborating with France, US also sent just 200.
And the thing is that I cannot now wait to see it taking place. I cannot wait to see the changes. And
Absolutely.
that's on the lips of every Nigerian.
All right then, Platform Times. Nigeria faces job losses, business closures as oil prices surge. NECA, NLC, LCCI warn of worsening economic hardship. And we started off, not live on the show, but then behind the scenes, when we started talking about buying petrol, cost of petrol. He said he got it 1.4 yesterday. And diesel, 1.6 rather, and then diesel now going as high as 1,800. You also bought it at around, is it 1.4 yesterday?
Yesterday morning I got it, that's fuel, I got it for 1,300 and something.
1,000.
I had to buy just 2 liters. That's what I could afford.
So manufacturing and agriculture sector will be affected. Small and medium enterprises will also be affected. And, this might lead to some companies forcing their staff to work from home or even laying them off.
I think that organizations should start looking at how they can manage the situation for their staffers at this point. Are you going to have a schedule? Because you cannot close down your organization. It has to keep running. But what is the best way forward? I see that the federal government has said that, through the president has said that state governments should look at how they can create a buffer for citizens or residents of the state. And we have seen one state saying, I'll give you guys 10,000 naira. So
That's
right now,
your state.
or your state. Now, right now, so organizations need to begin to look at how we can handle this matter. Do we have a schedule where you work today, you don't work tomorrow? However we can keep our organization running is the way we are going to go. Because you cannot begin to, cut down on jobs as we speak.
That's right.
How will people survive? That's a huge challenge. We'll have a huge number of persons losing their jobs. That's another security problem.
That's right.
So we need to really calculate these things properly and look at how we can address it head on. There's a little that government can do, and those who have been saying federal government is the cause of this whole matter, return subsidy, it's a global thing right now, and we are facing the shocks. So it's important that organizations begin to look at how they can juggle this period and see what happens in the coming weeks, hoping and praying that all these matters are resolved.
Yeah, people who
Put it in the hands of God.
People who supported Trump say, Trump, we are behind you. Are the one now blaming the federal government, because when you have someone like that, destroying or causing global problem.
Yeah, and when this whole crisis was happening, I knew that definitely there's no way that it's not going to hit Nigeria.
Definitely.
And that's what we're seeing.
All right, then let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Mr. Shomi, Hamzat Yayi Ali may emerge APC consensus governor candidate. We saw that stakeholders, during the Salah meeting with the president, knocked out Adelabu for 2027 Oyo, race. And this actually was as a result of the fact that he is not from Oke-Ogun, and they're considering Oke-Ogun as, to present its candidate. That actually works against him. And the fact that he has also lost twice contesting for the governorship position. That is under Accord and the other one under ICPC. So that's the reason said, let's go for someone who is a fresher.
Well, all this remains speculations until when we see the politicians at work.
That's right.
As far as I know, nobody can say definitely who is getting the ticket or not, whether there will be a consensus candidate or not. And of course, the president has not come out to say, look, I've had discussions with people in relation to that. The discussion we knew in public domain that he had was around security, of the country, and steps being taken to provide infrastructure and equipment, including conversation with Macron, and update on his discussions with the British government. Of course, there will always be rumors, speculations, one way or the other, but nobody can really tell what would happen in Ogun or in Lagos or in Oyo or any other state currently. The bottom line at the end of the day is if one of the aspirants fail to agree to a consensus agreement, then there will have to be delegates, there will have to be party members voting. So that's the new electoral act. So one cannot be sure of anything.
Well, some said that, according to report, that Adelabu is, urging for, agreement, whatever it is, that people should not be angry, whatever decision they decide to make, and every other person who doesn't make it will be compensated one way or the other.
But
we need to raise on because
quickly,
we have just
may
like
the best person win. May the person with the interest of the state win. That's the most important.
And the candidate you have in your mind too. Don't say
well, of course not. I don't have any candidates. I'm for everybody. I'm for nobody.
Okay, that's the Buhari slogan. Okay, Observer Times is next, and we really are out of time. But Veronica and Ria, let's just quickly take a bite of this headline. CBN named Global Central Bank of the Year, honored for reforming the economy and stabilizing the naira. Talk about the return to policy orthodoxy, exchange rates unification, inflation control, etc. So, in all of this, and we see the CBN being rated, being honored, then it means that Nigeria is actually steering its path towards growth or prosperity.
Well, it's beautiful to see, this kind of news, knowing that the CBN, we're talking about the banks that cannot, do it. They said that they should merge together and all of that. We know the CBN has been making statements.
Yeah,
it's good to
about
see
the recapitalization.
Yeah, that word always, I don't like to pronounce it. So it's good to see that CBN is getting this recognition, but all I'll say is that they should do more. There's still more, that can be done.
And this is going to help in time, because now looking at the foreign reserves, is going to boost investors' confidence, and then the global standing, saying, yes, Nigeria is one country we always have to make reference to each time we talk to other presidents. That's a statement made by one of the leaders of the IMF, or World Bank, I should say.
It's a good one for the CBN. Of course, they have done the needful, or what they can do to ensure that they keep the economy running, and we see some improvement. How this positions us on the global stage is also very important. But how about those back home who are still reeling from some of the effect of the changes that they brought in? They said these reforms have to happen to help the economy grow, but there are those who have really been affected by all of these decisions. How do we begin to look at how we can improve, especially the ease of doing business within the country, so that we can help, increase whatever it is that we are doing, and also reposition, because there are those who are coming into the country as a result of this, but when they come in, they find out it's not as easy to do business in Nigeria. So beyond you just having that image, how do you also ensure that when people come into the country, they find it so easy to do the business they need to do with locals?
They'll tell you it's a gradual process, and as the president said, just like a surgery, it takes you get the pain, and then the enjoyment comes much more later, which is going to be lasting. Last but not least is the sport and life. Mr.
Osimhen is not here.
Yeah, Osimhen is
still there in one corner.
He'll be going for surgery very soon. But
no, he's recovered.
He's recovered, great. But he said he's got like, is it 8 stitches or 16 stitches or thereabouts? And he can't chew with his right teeth. But it's okay. Atletico Madrid coach saying Lookman has a big heart, says Nigerian star is working very well. You remember when we talked about Lookman during the AFCON? Was it AFCON? The role he played when things were supposed to be go haywire, but then he was able to calm the situation and all of that. So getting this review from Atletico Madrid coach is a good one.
It is a good one, no doubt, for a striker and playmaker. Demola Lookman is a fantastic player, and there is no doubt. Look, he's a world-class rated player, no matter how we look at it. Demola Lookman and Victor Osimhen. And for me, he's been conducting himself very well. It's a good influence on the team in terms of cooling down temper and moderating things and ensuring that the ball, is played rather than, fist cuff. So I'm not surprised he's getting that kind of rating. I think he's a good player, and we should be proud of him.
And
Absolutely.
just to add to it quickly, our boys are doing very well, on the global stage. We cannot even deny that fact. When we hear about them for good news, and it's a good one for Nigeria. It makes me proud, actually.
Absolutely, it's good when you hear ladies saying our boys are doing. This time around, not just our girls are doing, very well.
Okay. So both of them are doing well. Both the girls and the boys.
the boys are learning from the girls.
That's about it for the newspapers up for review. Still ahead on TVC Breakfast. Lagos State announces that there will not be restriction on movement during the sanitation exercise. Find out more after the break. We'll be right back.